This is the Wrestling Replay. I am Cato. Welcome to episode number 29, AEW's Dynamite Quake by the Lake on a Wednesday, helping us get over this hump day, leading us into the weekend. We had a great episode, man. This episode started off red hot for Dynamite. A match between Darby Allin and Brody King, a Coffin match. I love everything about this. Thank you so much for actually having a storyline and building up to a point that you get a match like a Coffin match. You get the blood from Brody King. And this week, I'm not going to lie, I don't mind because it's justified. Ever since Brody had eliminated Darby Allin from the Battle Royal, in the fashion that he eliminated him, I feel like this feud just kept escalating and escalating. And when you have two people inside the matchup, the likes of Brody King, the likes of Darby Allin, who likes to bring all these crazy little tools and things to the ring, I feel like blood at that moment is justified. So I like how this match kicked off. I like how it kicks off the show. We even got more storyline advancement with Sting and Malachi Black. Sting pops up out of the coffin, even has a black face paint over the eye where Malachi sprayed that mist in his face. We're going to get that match at some point, so this storyline is yet to be over. I like how everything happened here. I like how it really kicked off, and I like the fact that Darby Allin was able to notch the win, because what that does is actually build momentum for Darby and Sting, and I'm thinking that we're going to get Miro possibly teaming up with these guys. I even like Miro's segment afterwards, pretty much stating, look, I'm not going to join the House of Black, but I'm pretty much going to use the power that you have given me for giving me that miss. Instead of giving into it and joining you guys, I'm going to use it to destroy you guys. So that could possibly be the third man that Sting and Darby Allin need to take on the House of Black. The next matchup of the night, it kept the intensity right where it was at. We got to see a match between Andrade and Rush, going against the Lucha Bros, Penta and Rey Fenix. And I gotta say, Andrade and Rush just seem to have these guys' number. Whatever they do, they just cannot seem to get one over on these two guys as a tag team. Rush and Andrade managed to notch another win, which is awesome because now they're going to be joined by Rush's brother, Dragon Lee, to go into that Trios Tag Team Championship tournament, possibly being a favorite of the trios to win in that tag team tournament. We also seen Luchasaurus in action. He absolutely smashed Anthony Henry. Really quick matchup. I like the fact that we seen him still dominating the way that he was when he was with Christian. Now the Jungle Boy is back. They're still doing their singles thing, and it really didn't matter for the fact that Luchasaurus wasn't a heel. He still came out there and dominated. We also got to see Ricky Starks in action. He defeated Ern Solo. It looked like he has a problem with the factory after declining their help with him and Big Will Hobbs. So Ricky Starks, he can use this to start to really build some momentum against QT Marshall and those guys right now. So this can help really notch him the wins he need in that singles division to possibly put him in line for something like a TNT Championship. But at the same time, it builds momentum and a match that's ultimately leading towards him and Big Will Hobbs. So get out there for Ricky Starks. I feel like that was the match that really started to slow down the show a little bit, kind of bring us back, calm us down a little bit before we get to that big main event matchup. But before we get to that, we also will see our TBS champion Jade defend her title against Madison Rayne. A really good championship defense against Madison Rayne. Somebody like her, a veteran, that's a great notch under your belt. Now after the match, we did get to see Athena, who was disguised as one of the baddies, attack Jade after the match. So we're right back on track to building up for that Jade and Athena match, which I think will probably take place at the pay-per-view All Out. Maybe that's what they're saving this for. So in the meantime, they're trying to keep Jade hot, keep the win streak growing until we get to that point. If that's the case, I don't mind. I still would like to see her go against the likes of Toni Storm and Serena Deeb and women like that eventually. And speaking of Toni Storm, Chris Statlander once again is sidelined with the injury. I don't know if it's a kayfabe injury. I really hope it is. I would have loved to see Toni Storm actually attack Chris Statlander to injure her and put her on the shelf and put herself himself back into that number one contender spot to face Thunder Rosa. I think that would make for some really good storytelling with these two actually being friends right now, and then Toni Storm kind of going behind Thunder Rosa back to sneak and get another title shot at her AEW Women's Championship. As Mark Henry would say, it's time for our main event. We got to see Jon Moxley. He managed to hold on to his AEW interim World Championship when he defeated Chris Jericho, the Lionheart Chris Jericho, in a really good matchup, man. I like the fact that when we started out this match, we got to see Chris Jericho. He looked to go in there and out-wrestle Jon Moxley. I like that a lot because when you see the Painmaker, it's a different style of wrestling. You see the Lionheart, it's a different style of wrestling. So I like the fact that as Jericho character changes and switches, he's able to switch the style along with that and makes it even more entertaining. The only problem I kind of have with this match, not so much, is once again we got blood in the Jon Moxley match. What do you expect? But for someone like the Lionheart Chris Jericho, I would think you're going to here to out-wrestle Jon Moxley. And when he goes to pull Jon Moxley's earring out of his ear, and it causes all that blood to leak out, and then he starts to attack the ear, and the ear seems to bleed even worse afterwards, I just think that's when we kind of got off page of the Lionheart Chris Jericho, and it kind of went to something else. I feel like the Lionheart should have been focusing more on his wrestling skills to outmaneuver him. But when he did that, he kind of went to a more of the Chris Jericho we see now, more of that brawling style, more of that more brutality, essentially, right? I don't mind it. I feel like this match is justified for it. Everything that's gone on with the BCC and the JAS leading up to this matchup, that's why I really didn't mind the blood too much. It was just kind of weird seeing it that the Lionheart Chris Jericho would be the one to do a move like that. Also during the matchup, we seen Jericho hit the exposed turnbuckle. He gets busted open in the matchup. Now, I'm not sure if that was actually supposed to happen or not. I would have loved for it to have happened by accident, because I feel like it would have just naturally brought on something or added something to the matchup. With AEW, we get blood week after week, and eventually it kind of gets watered down. This week, to be honest, I did not mind in any match, even the main event, me just kind of being nitpicky, but I still didn't mind in the main event the blood happening because of the storyline building up to this matchup. And that's something that I've been asking AEW for forever. When guys are in the ring with somebody like Jon Moxley, please let it be some type of build-up for you to even be in the ring with the AEW World Champion. I don't feel like everyone deserves the chance to be in the ring with your World Champion. Also, I got to highlight on commentary, William Regal did an awesome job. He kind of reminded me of how Samoa Joe was on WWE. It gave you the wrestling insight of why someone might be doing what they're doing, why someone tried to do this instead of that. I think a power driver happened, and he talked about how you don't want to land on your head, so you move this way to try to take some of that impact off your neck. And stuff like that. He talked about Jericho ripping the earring out and how much blood it could actually cost. I like stuff like that. Samoa Joe did the same type of thing when he was on commentary, just giving you that wrestling insight. It's kind of like giving you the insight of someone who's been in that exact same situation, and he's explaining to you what the wrestler is exactly going through in that moment while he's in the match. Jon Moxley would retain his championship by making Chris Jericho tap out at the end of the matchup, but we did see the Blackpool Combat Club, we did see the JAS all come down to the ring, get into a big brawl again, and just as the JAS started to get the better of the BCC, we get the return of CM Punk, the AEW World Champion himself. I have not seen any news on CM Punk coming back or making a return tonight, so I really like that surprise. I think that's going to really boost the ratings from Rampage, because you want to hear what he has to say. And CM Punk is the type where all he needs is the microphone. He doesn't need to be wrestling. He doesn't need to be in a brawl. If he gets the microphone in his hands, he can bring home whatever storyline you put him in. Now, after the matchup, after the brawl, all the dust settles and everything clears out. It's two people left in the ring, Jon Moxley and CM Punk. So Jon Moxley, in Jon Moxley fashion, gives CM Punk the bird, and then he gives him a nice little shoulder check as he leaves the ring. Now, for me, I don't like the fact that CM Punk didn't even respond. He gave a little smile, and that was about it. He gave a smile, kind of hopped around on one foot, letting the fans know that, hey, everything's okay. I'm back. I don't mind that, but the CM Punk I know since he has came into AEW, he's not the bully, but he's also not the one to back down from any type of confrontation. Matter of fact, he's kind of the guy to show you shouldn't back down from any confrontation. So in that moment, I feel like Jon Moxley punked CM Punk. Why would CM Punk let this happen? I mean, you got to retaliate. I don't mind you flipping him the bird, but once he start putting his hands on you or getting physical with you, at that point, CM Punk has to do something. Even if he doesn't want to get physical back, he can look at Jon Moxley, point as he tossed into the camera and says, interim champion, that's your interim champion. Something to just belittle Jon Moxley as he leaves. But I feel like it's the same situation that we had a few weeks ago with Becky Lynch and Bianca Belair. Becky was just constantly getting the better of Bianca Belair, making Bianca look soft. And this situation is the same thing. Jon Moxley, you know he's that bad boy. That's who he is. But CM Punk, you're not the guy to back down from anything. And it just looked like you backed down from Jon Moxley. Luckily, I think we will see CM Punk on Rampage. And that's where he can kind of take some of that heat back from Jon Moxley. Because he can use the microphone where he's best at. And then he can talk to Jon Moxley in whatever fashion he wants. Hey, thanks for being an interim champ. The real one's back. And I'm pretty sure these two will probably lock it up at All Out. And I wouldn't mind if these two are going to have a match one-on-one just between the two, no special stipulations, not a cage match, not a no DQ, not a dog collar match, I wouldn't mind to just seeing a great wrestling match between Jon Moxley and CM Punk. Blood is not going to add or take away from the matchup we're going to get with CM Punk and Jon Moxley. Just let it be great. Let it be a great wrestling match. Now I can see if leading up to it, these two are constantly brawling, constantly getting into it. Something's constantly happening between these two leading up to that matchup in Chicago, CM Punk's hometown. Then I could see us getting to like a Chicago street fight. And of course, I could see both men getting bloodied and battered. I mean, it's Jon Moxley, so you know what's going to happen there. But I don't think you need it. And I think that's the problem with AEW. Sometimes we're getting blood in situations where it's not really needed. Tonight, I didn't mind it at all, especially the first match. The first match, it was perfect. It called for it, and I liked it. If they didn't bleed at all, I wouldn't have minded anyway, because the match was still entertaining. The same thing with the main event. It was still entertaining, but I would have loved to see it be more of a pure wrestling match, especially with Jon Moxley calling out the Lionheart Chris Jericho, the last graduate of the Hart Dungeon. I felt like he wanted to out-wrestle that Chris Jericho, and I wish that is what we would have seen last night instead of, so much blood between the two. But either way, really good episode of AEW Dynamite, and this is what I mean when we have the storyline now between CM Punk going on. We still got the storyline building with Sting, Darby Allin, and a House of Black going on. What happens is that just locks you in, that draws you in. Now I'm locked in and I'm tuned in to see Jon Moxley and CM Punk all the way in September when All Out happens. You got my attention from now until then. So if we're going to keep building towards that, hopefully build towards staying in the House of Black. I feel like Athena and Jade is kind of getting played out. I feel like they've done everything they could do. I wouldn't mind seeing these two just lock it up for the title early. And if it ends in a DQ or something like that, or a countout, or in a underhanded fashion, maybe then we can get a rematch between the two at All Out. But other than that, those two storylines, Sting, House of Black, Darby Allin, Moxley, CM Punk, even with Chris Jericho kind of in the mix, I will have to believe that JS has to get back at CM Punk somehow, and I would have to believe that the BCC would be coming to protect CM Punk and kind of returning that favor that he gave Jon Moxley. So, I mean, it can get interesting. Now I'm locked in to see what happens. I'm actually locked in for Rampage. I don't care about the matches. I want to see CM Punk because I have to know what he's going to say. I have to know how he's going to rebuttal the situation between him and Jon Moxley going forward. That was everything that took place on AEW Dynamite, Quake by the Lake. Really good episode. And I like what AEW does with these little, I'm going to call them mini pay-per-views. Like, I've seen people complain before that we're getting matches like a world title match on basic TV, or we're getting, no DQ matches or pay-per-view style matches on regular TV. But if you're going to give it to me in the form of like a little mini pay-per-view, like a Quake in the Lake or a Fight for the Fallen and things like that, I don't mind. It actually works. I kind of like how they're doing it like that, to be honest. So for people who don't like and say save for the pay-per-view, you're crazy. Continue to give me these great matches. I will watch. They don't have to. But that's everything that happened on AEW Dynamite, man. Really great episode. Can't wait for Friday night. Can't wait for next Wednesday. Well, Friday night I won't be here. I'm going on vacation this weekend. So if I find time, I will do a video on SmackDown Rampage. If not, I may just package it all in with Monday Night Raw next week, or package it in with Dynamite next week. Either way, do something like that. But I'm not sure exactly how I'm going to do it. Either way, I'll be back next week for sure, so you don't have to worry about that. So let me know what you all think about Jon Moxley and CM Punk. Is that the biggest matchup in AEW history thus far if these two lock it up? Well, when these two lock it up. Will that be the biggest match in AEW history? Let me know what you think in the comment section down below. Hit me in the DM at The Wrestling Replay on Instagram. You can also comment on the post there. Don't matter to me now. Let's just start the conversation. I think this may possibly be the biggest match in AEW history with CM Punk and Jon Moxley, man. I know the story is going to be hot as they build it up. I know it's going to get better each week. So I'm just excited to see what happens at All Out when it finally all comes to a head and who will actually come out as the AEW World Champion, man. But that's all I got for you guys this week. I'm Cato. I'm signing out. Peace.